Yeah. I see it when live, but I don't see the thing yet. It's all good, my brother. How you doing, man? What what up, Chief? How you doing?
What's going on, man? How's it going? How's it going?
Man, everything's 100, man. Happy Thursday to you, brother.
Happy Thursday, otherwise known as Friday Eve.
Yeah, indeed, man. Thanks for joining me here in the Rose Garden, man. My beautiful, intelligent, sometimes feministic sister usually is the my co-host Sarita, but
Yeah,
she's trying to settle into a new career move, so
yeah,
she's not available. So I'm grateful that you're able to fill in the gap, man.
of
As
course,
you,
man.
yeah. So let me introduce you, my brother. You can introduce yourself to the digital community out here. Um, you go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Anthony Lewis, otherwise known as Tony. The people that know me personally, call me Tony. Only time anybody calls me Anthony is if I'm in trouble and it's my mama. You know what I'm saying? So everybody, I go by Tony. So I am
I,
from the Germantown, area. Went to high school, Seneca Valley, with my man Xavier here. So shout out Seneca Valley alumni. Living in the Germantown, Montgomery County, a little bit out here and there with Frederick County, and back and forth. Um, the last 40 something years. So I'm a native.
yeah, that's right, man.
You know.
Yeah, big up to all 612 too, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
my sister always likes to begin with the fact that this is the Rose Garden we hear in remembrance of our grandmother who really dropped a bunch of great jewels on us and helped us become who we were, who we are actually today.
True that.
And it's nothing but a safe place, man, to chop it up about real world things that's happening. And yeah, man, it was kind of uh, interesting earlier when we were preparing that we share something in common because our grandmother Rose was a devout Seventh Day Adventist.
Hmm. Yep. My
And
grandmother as well. My grandmother Anna. Yep.
yeah, so it's funny, man. I never the whole time we was in G Town, I didn't think people were too familiar with that. But it's just interesting that we had that in common.
Yeah, Seventh Day Adventism is not a that's not like a common religion amongst people. You know, Muslim, Catholic, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's why I didn't know that about you either.
Yeah, yeah, man. I don't know how to get this thing off the screen. I see the thing is still persistent for us
Oh
there.
yeah,
Yeah, try to kill it so we can get our video thing going. But yeah, man. Uh, growing up in the way that we did, our grandmother kind of, I don't know how you want to say, adopted us or took guardianship of us or whatnot.
hmm
And she raised us in the deep south in Virginia, way past the Tappahannock River
yeah,
area,
yep.
rural place where the next neighbor almost like a quarter mile away. Like you could do anything out there. Yeah, brother, it's gone now. So
Yeah.
she she had us in going to church on Saturday. The
Hmm.
Sabbath and all this stuff. We were in the
No
uh
doubt. Right there
yeah
with
that
you. Right there with
yeah, we were in the camps and everything, man. Like
you. Hmm.
during the summertime and all that. And you had asked earlier, what is it that I'm embracing now, and I mean I'll be having a hard time with a conscious mind to adapt, this modern day religion. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
For
Hmm.
multiple reasons, but just not we could just start with the hypocrisy of it, right? And then the missed teachings. But I like to hear your thoughts and experiences with it.
Yeah, a lot of people, their experience with religion. I mean, basically anybody, if you think about it, anybody's experience with religion is passed down.
Hmm.
Because when we're born, we don't know nothing about any kind of religion or who's in charge, who's running everything, how we got here, the history, human history, and none of that. So as a child, like I said, everyone else, you were taught about religion by your parents or your grandparents, and you have no concept of what God is. And I believe we all have God inside of us, just innately. Uh,
Absolutely.
but we're taught that God is something like outside of us, a man up in the sky or what have you. So um,
Hmm.
everything that you know about religion, like I said, is taught, and you adhere to the rules, the regulations, the do's, the don'ts. You get introduced to the Bible. I mean, depending on what religion that you follow.
Hmm.
Bible
Hmm.
is not the book for everybody that follows
Hmm.
a particular religion, but just in general, um, you're taught everything. So
Hmm.
I think what happens along the way is that you just, I hate, for lack of a better word, you go through the motions,
Hmm.
as a child,
Hmm.
with religion. And
Hmm.
what happened with me is that as I got a little older, I was very inquisitive, as a child. I like to
Hmm.
ask a lot of questions, and I'm always thinking. I listen to things, but I want to know. I don't have a problem following direction, but
Hmm.
I'm one of the type of people that wants to know why I'm doing something.
Hmm.
You tell me I need to do something, I'll do it, but I want to know why. So,
Hmm.
so as it related to religion, I started asking questions as a young teen, and then I never really had my questions effectively answered. So what ended up happening is that I wasn't feeling it after a while. It's like I had no choice, like you, going to church every Saturday. You
Right.
know,
Right.
for those that don't know, Seventh Day Adventism, um, the Sabbath, the holy day, starts at sunset on Friday night, all the way until sunset on Saturday night. So that's the day that's considered the Sabbath, the holy day. So growing up, I was not allowed to do anything.
Mm.
No TV, no having friends over. No listening to music. Unless it was church music.
I hear you.
um, wasn't allowed to do anything. So it was like Friday night, nothing, and then go to church.
Wow.
Go to church Saturday morning. Even
Mm.
have a little luncheon after church. With the people from the congregation, whatever, in the afternoon, and then you go home, and the rest
Mm.
of that afternoon was just time to relax and reflect and
Mhm.
whatever. So as a kid, I'm like counting down until the sun drops Saturday evening, so I can resume my normal activities. But yeah, but just religion, man, is somebody else is telling you about what they experienced in religion, but they're essentially teaching you something that somebody taught them,
Exactly.
and so
It's
on and so on and so on. So, but
100%.
a lot of people get taught these things, but don't bother to ask any questions. They just blindly, follow
Follow.
what it is that they're
Mhm.
taught. Yeah.
Man, that's amazing, man. Yeah, I was thinking about, what you said in terms of, um, the duration of the day of rest,
Mm-hmm.
and how you were saying that you couldn't wait till it was over with so you can really restart and get back to normal life, a normal way
Right.
of things.
Right.
But what other ways did it affect you, man? In terms of uh, adhering to that as you were growing up.
Um, I think I mentioned to you before. We went to high school together. I had tried out for. I was planning planning on trying out for varsity football at Seneca Valley
Hmm.
under Coach Terry Changuris. He actually just put out a book. I think it's called "Winning Football" or "The Winning Formula," something like that.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
all on our Facebook. So Coach Changuris was the coach at the time. So I was going through off-season workouts and weight training. So people that play football at Seneca, they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Getting ready for tryouts and off-season conditioning. So I went through the motions and was set to try out for the team, but my mom's she put a stop to that quick because she was alluded to the fact that the games is on Friday nights, right? So how are you going to do that? So why are you wasting your time trying out for football? You're not going to be able to play. The games are Friday nights. So
Mm.
I spoke to Coach Chang, and he was like, "What?" He was like, "He never heard Seventh-day Adventist. What is that?" Don't worry, I'll talk to your mom. I'll fix all of that. So he talked to moms, and she politely gave him the rundown and was like, "This is what we believe, and this is how I'm raising my son. I appreciate your interest in his talent, but when he's living under my roof, he has to abide by my rules and regulations, and this is what we do here. So he will not be able to play. But thank you." So
Mm.
I did not play football, um, and that hurt a lot because a lot of my
I
good
hear
friends,
that.
my best friends, were playing on the team. Back then. This is in the early '90s, so this is like 1990, 91. Um,
Hmm.
so I didn't get a chance to play because religion played a part in me being able to participate in team sports.
Yeah, man, and be able to express your athletic talent in that way, which is a God-given gift, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, so I hear you on that, man. I was especially touched by the fact when you said that, you could hear the band playing,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
what I mean? Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Sep-
an interesting feeling, bro.
September nights,
Yeah.
September it's still in the 80s, during the day, weather's still nice. So, football games is like 6:30, 7 o'clock. So, nice little breeze outside. You open up your window, you hear that band playing. I'm like, man, we just scored a touchdown. I'm looking out the
Right.
window, like, man, I should be out there, man. That was tough right there.
Man, I hear that, man. I hear that.
That
But
was tough.
man, they say, as parents, there's this book that say that we mess our children up no matter what,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And I was thinking about that because I was saying that no parent sets out to do anything to detrimentally affect their child in a adverse way,
Definitely not.
but but even when we don't, we end up giving them experiences and stuff like that, like what you just shared, which is was well intentioned, was
Hmm.
well meaning because I know based on what you said in terms of your mom's comments that she really wholeheartedly felt that way, you know,
Hmm.
that this was going to be the better path for you because
Right,
that was more important than anything else in
right,
that household.
right.
But then, she doesn't realize the flip side to it, like how that could have derailed some opportunities for you
Right,
or
right.
what have you, just overall experiences and stuff like that. So in
Hmm.
these ways, we we end up like causing our kids um, some harm. It's funny, bro, because I was thinking about uh, my upbringing as well.
Hmm.
And when I was with our grandmother, I was thinking, when it comes to the point where I'm begin having kids and a family and all that,
Hmm.
that it was going to be a certain type of way, like a vision I had. And it's funny now when I think about it because I'm having that vision in my own mind, not realizing like in order to create a family, I need a partner, and that partner got to be shared, invested in
Right.
sharing that vision I have. You
Yeah,
know what I
you gotta be in alignment together,
mean?
have the same idea of how you want to bring children into the world and how you raise them. Picking a good
Exactly.
partner is paramount.
100%. So I can imagine the partners I ended up picking, had, which that wasn't part of my thought process. I thought it was gonna be one woman, and
Right.
then here it is. I'll be wondering like when she was at that stage when we were kids, thinking what was in her vision because it
Right.
definitely wasn't in line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? And then I look at that and I'm like, well, I didn't want to. create this experience for my children where they would grow up in two separate households,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I did it anyway, despite the
Mhm.
fact that I was hoping not to, to repeat that cycle. I was
Yeah.
hoping to break it.
Yeah.
So no matter what, sometimes things, when you don't have, like, I guess you say, disciplined focus
Hmm.
and intention on it, like, it doesn't happen the way you might really have it in your heart for it to be.
Most of the
And
time, it doesn't. Nope.
then you can't even, but you still have the consequences, right? Because every action still has a ripple in that pond. And so, like,
Mhm.
these children's lives are the consequence. And then inside of that, like, they got to deal with the experiences that we're living through.
Mhm. Definitely.
And now with that, we have some level of accountability back to them, you
Mhm.
know, when they're grown and they developed and all that stuff. So I can see why children are so critical on their parents and judgmental.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
man, so what do you think about just that, man, in terms of this challenge between parent and child, man?
Mhm.
And what's uh what's your view, on that
It's,
connection?
it's interesting because I think a lot of people don't realize how big how big an effect that two parents being in the same home have on their kids. Um, my son actually mentioned that fairly recently that
Mm,
his mother and I, we got married and it didn't work out, so we got separated, ended up getting divorced, and
mm-hmm,
years later, once he was grown, he
mm-hmm,
made mention of the fact that he had some difficulties with here and there, different areas of his life, like everybody does, growing up, getting older. But he attributed some of the difficulties to the fact that it had an effect on him with
mm-hmm,
her and I not being together, and
mm-hmm.
me being in the house. So my immediate response, I'm old school. My immediate response is, you know what, you choose your own path. Don't let nobody else, what's going on around you, have anything to do with the fact that you still have the power to choose your own path and choose
Mhm,
your
mhm.
destiny. And I grew up in a household where my mother wasn't with my father anymore either. So my outlook is like, well, I turned out all right, so
Right,
you
right,
be
right.
you be all right too.
Right.
Ain't nobody
Right, right.
all that. But you know what, man? One thing I have learned as a parent, um, and really, when my daughter came into my life, it really
Mhm.
shined light on this perspective. Is that it's a mistake to discount the feelings of your children.
I agree.
So
Totally agree.
So
Mhm.
just because I came up a certain way and I was raised a certain way, and I believe that I'm a resilient person, and
Mhm.
personally, I believe I can handle anything.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, that doesn't mean that doesn't invalidate your children's feelings because they're coming up in a completely different era. Um,
Mhm. Mhm.
Things that's going on now were not going on when I was a kid, and
Mhm.
you know, just because your children come from you, that
Mhm.
doesn't mean that they're gonna feel the same way as you about
Mhm.
everything that happens to them. So
Mhm.
I had to respect the fact that my son is his own man. My daughter,
Mhm.
she's her own person. She's her own young lady, um,
Mhm.
and you got to listen, man. You got to listen. Um, and I think with my son, I took the wrong approach. I was just like, man, he'll be all right. He'll be all right. You know,
But you
and
know
you,
what the thing
and
about your
you
son though is he was your first child though, right?
right,
So
right.
so
That's
so he gets a different version of you. You know what I mean?
right.
He gets a
Very
less experienced parent, because it is your inaugural
right.
introduction directly into you
Yeah.
being a father. And I think so also, like, there's even though, yes, like, I think our upbringing makes us strong,
Hmm.
men, but it's like there's a transition between manhood and fatherhood that's like super subtle that
Definitely.
nobody really, can appreciate. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I don't even know like if we even are really conscious of it as it's happening, like this
Right.
transformation is happening.
Yeah.
But I feel like a person, got to be able to have grace, you know,
Hmm.
for this being your first, your
Hmm.
first child,
Yeah.
and then the way that things are handled there. But I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
Nah, it's all
Yeah,
good. But
yeah,
I think
yeah.
a big thing for parents now,
Mm-hmm,
parents make the mistake, and
mm-hmm,
don't misunderstand. It
mm-hmm,
is a mistake to do this,
mm-hmm.
to stay in the marriage, stay in the relationship for the sake of the kids, to try to keep the family together. But in reality, they know in their mind the love is really not there. The relationship,
Mm-hmm,
you know when the relationship's over and when it's not.
mm-hmm,
You know when
mm-hmm,
I mean, people, no one's perfect, so no one can predict um, the success or failure of a relationship in the beginning. But when
mm-hmm,
you have the clear signs that the relationship is falling apart and there is no reconciling,
mm-hmm,
you gotta move on, because in my opinion, I feel
mm-hmm,
like if you stay in that relationship or that marriage with that person
mm-hmm,
who you know
mm-hmm,
is not for you anymore,
mm-hmm,
you and that person, you and that man, you and that woman, y'all are gonna bump heads, y'all are gonna
mm-hmm.
argue, you're gonna fuss, you're gonna fight, which comes naturally with people who are not in alignment anymore. But
Right, right.
but in the meantime, the kids is watching all that.
Yeah, they absorbing it all, right?
So in my mind, I think
Mm-hmm,
that it's better to cut your losses, handle it maturely, and say, hey,
mm-hmm.
this didn't work out between you and I, but let's do our best to co-parent. We're going to know each other for the rest of our lives because we share a child together. So
Yes,
I want my child to be able to see, me. I want, hey, dad is happy over here,
yes, yes, yes,
but
yes.
mom is happy too over there
Mm-hmm,
in her
mm-hmm,
house.
mm-hmm,
I can go back and forth to mom's house or dad's
mm-hmm,
house, and there's love in both
mm-hmm,
houses, and
mm-hmm,
there is not none of that fighting and arguing and fussing,
mm-hmm.
that negative energy that the kids have to be exposed to. So, parents, you have a right to be happy too. So if
Man,
the
absolutely,
relationship, yeah,
brother.
if the relationship breaks down,
Mm-hmm.
you can't stay in a dead end relationship when you're unhappy for the sake of of your children. You deserve happiness too. You can provide a healthy, happy home separate, and you can go from there.
100%, man. Hey, that's well said, man. Because I was thinking, children, they definitely can feel the tension between
Oh
the
yeah,
parents, and they realize,
oh yeah.
the love is no longer there. And like you
Mhm.
said, it's just really an indicator of lack of real alignment at that point in time. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
But I was thinking this, going connecting the religious aspect to the family building portion of it. You know what I mean? Man, I
Mhm.
just heard this like real controversial concept where they were saying that, in in all of the historical biblical depictions of what was going on with the key characters, like
Mhm.
the God was communicating to and visiting men, but
Uh-huh. Right.
he wasn't doing that with women, and that really what was going on with the women was that the devil was in communication with women.
Oh really?
Satan was like the serpent was the one that tempted her in the
Right. In the
garden
garden.
and all
Yeah.
this other stuff, and
He had that Eve in the garden, so he
yeah, yeah,
fucked up.
yeah, yeah, and so on and
Generations
so
later, there's
forth.
women in there. That's interesting. I never heard that one.
So we were thinking of it from the perspective of women got a serpent with them, all the time, like got
Mhm.
the Satan chip on them, and like men have more the God body on them, you know
Oh, okay.
what I mean? but I know that's controversial. I just saying that to spur up the women, in my sister's group chat and all that stuff. But I would say that when it's a beautiful thing where there's alignment, between the father and the mother, because I feel like this is really the center point, like the vortex or vertex, what they call it, of
Mhm.
the family, because these are like between the two elements of the family, usually like mother and father, are closer than anybody else. You know
Right.
what I mean?
As they
But
should be. Yeah.
as it should be. But then we you know, I would say like whenever I look at a situation that falls apart, you know, like you say, like in a household, like I've always been under the impression that it was the man's fault, and I
Mm-hmm.
would say I fault the man because the man chose the woman. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
he did it in most of the time like in an unconscious way. Now I would say that that is true for my case, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that um, you know, I knew it was important to have, you know, I knew these principles what we talking about, they were vital.
Yeah.
But I also had this thought in mind that like, you know, if I'm a really good father, you know, it'll override these other things.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And now I realize that even if I'm a good father, if I don't have, you know, the opposite component is not like if she's not a really great mom or that involved or we're not presenting a united front, you know, with the
Mm-hmm.
kids, and we're not on the same page on how to raise them and all, then
Mm-hmm.
we really are hurting them because they start seeing that they could play us. Like, you know, they
Mm-hmm.
could, if I want something, I know daddy don't like mommy, so I'm gonna go to him and say, "Hey, I asked mommy. Mommy said no, so daddy gonna say yes." Or something. You know what I mean? You know what
It's a true story right there. Right. Put one parent against the other. You
I
know.
mean? And
So.
they start making that work because I think another thing with the kids is like when they're small, man, they so beautiful, cute looking, and all
Mhm.
that. I remember you were telling this story about I think you said your daughter went to homecoming. I wanted to say, and
Yeah.
you said that when you saw her all
Mhm.
dressed up, that was it moved you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and
I was
all that.
emotional.
Yeah. So I was thinking, you know, I could relate to looking at the children and thinking like they're cute, like you know they like a
Mhm.
stuffed animal type cute, you know, like you
Yeah.
know. But I always had this little nagging thought in the back of my mind, like that is going to be an adult, a
Hmm.
human being, you know, and you want that adult to be able to function in this world without you, and
Yes.
uh, and be
Yes.
productive. So I was like, some
Mhm.
people don't instill you know, these tools and capabilities in their kids because you know I've seen a lot of women use their kid more for like a companion or something, like
Uh,
a
mhm.
like the kid like a dog, like a puppy dog or something, or it's
Yeah.
something that should love them, you know,
Right. Right.
because they're missing that deep connection, you know.
Hmm.
But ideally, the deep connection really supposed to come from the man you created that baby with. You know what
Should
I
be right because y'all knew each other before the baby got here.
mean?
So
100%. It's
it's
supposed
supposed
to
to be
be
like
there.
this, you know.
But instead, they're more like, no, I don't need him. Now I got the baby or whatever. Like he can go on about his business and
But you know what? But you know what, man? But that goes back to choosing a partner.
that's right. That's true.
But
That's a good
I
point.
mean, let's keep it a buck.
Mm,
None of us, you know, nobody I know anyway, especially when you consider being young. If I
mm-hmm,
didn't have my son wasn't born until I was 27. That's still young.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm,
people having children when they're younger in their 20s or some of them even before that, 17, 18, 19, whatever the age is, um, you really don't do an inventory list of different things and check off boxes for every
mm-hmm.
person that you with. Okay, now nobody
Right.
does that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Right.
so we in essence, a lot of people end up having children. You hate to say it, but for the wrong reasons, in the wrong type of situation, you're not financially set to take care of a child. You think you know the person who you procreated with until you really get to know that person, and you like, wait
Mm-hmm.
a minute, this is not person is not who I thought they was, because
Right.
being with somebody, you know what I mean, in an intimate relationship, sexually, whatever the case may be, that has the chemistry you may have in that bedroom ain't got jack to do being able to co-parent and raise a child together with somebody. The two have one has nothing to do with the other. So
100%,
a lot
man.
of
I
people
totally
find
agree.
themselves in situations where they have children with people that they cannot raise a child with. And we
Mm-hmm.
are,
Well, in the sense of the properties of what it takes for two parents to be able to raise a child together, right? I think the very first thing is like this deep trust and respect for each other. You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? Because I could see how, you know, like how this whole thing about divide and conquer that kids will do if they know that there's some sort of rift between the parents, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So like, if that wouldn't happen if there's like a real deep bond of respect between the two people, like
Mhm.
and then also inside of that bond of respect, like it's a protecting of each other,
Right,
because I
right.
think women always think that men's role is to protect them, and it's true. I wholeheartedly believe a man's supposed to
Mhm.
protect his woman and
Yeah,
all,
definitely. Hmm.
but I think also the woman's supposed to protect the relationship she has with her man, and also protect the bond between them. To
Hmm.
guard that and don't allow anything to drive a wedge between that, including kids. You know what I
Right,
mean? Right.
right, right.
So, and when the two people uphold that, then like that's when they really are like one. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? In
Hmm.
a certain type of way. But I'm with you because I think he said it. He said something profound where it's like, man, we didn't even know when we first started this journey off of how to assess somebody of whether or not they had the attributes to be aligned with us, because maybe that could work with some other type of dude or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But in this type of situation, if we want to build a family, like we need these things and we need these sorts
Hmm.
of alignments, and this
Hmm.
is what I'm gonna do. This what I'm hoping the expectations, but our expectations are aligned. Like, you're gonna bring this to the table, I'm gonna bring this to the table, and then
Hmm.
we do it, we execute on it, and we make it happen, and then in this way, like, two worlds become one.
That's right.
But I feel like just watching the women that we grew up with, like this, around us, because I felt like to me right now, I still like observe you know where we came from, like the environment that produced us,
Uh-huh.
and I still learning a lot, because
Oh yeah, sure.
I'm like, oh shoot, this is the so I feel like the somehow the women got in their mind to be ops to the man, like to be pushing against him. I don't know where that came from, bro. I don't know if you can relate to it, but it's like I got this feeling of like, every time you trying to implement something, right? Like my
Mhm.
brother was telling me that in his experience, his mom's was his father was trying to be part of the Nation of Islam, right? And
Yeah.
he was saying, look, he wanted her to be down with it with him.
Hmm.
She was raised up as a Christian, so she was rejecting that
Yeah, yeah.
completely, right?
Naturally. Right.
You're right, right.
With
And
the
the thing,
quickness. We
but
might
the
got
thing,
time for that.
right? But the thing about that was, it was more like a social thing, because
Mhm.
they were African American family, so he was trying to embrace that, for that purpose, right? And I think he was
Mhm.
inspired by like Malcolm X and all that, and
Yeah.
that was their time in generation or whatever. So he's trying to implement this, in his family, and his wife is rejecting it. So
Mhm.
he's saying, okay, you don't have to be down with it, right?
Yeah.
But since we have kids, I want to raise my kids in it though.
Ooh. And then she like, no, you ain't gonna raise my kid.
Right. Right. So she's secretly undermining it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So he told me that they would do things like, when the dad would be like, well, we ain't eating pork no more. And when they would leave, the dad would leave, we- she would be like, "Go open the window. We about to
Uh,
make some bacon and
yeah.
everything."
Some swine on deck.
So I feel like a whole group of like a whole generation of women have like that type of mentality. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you can sit a man can actually like sit down with the woman and be like, all right, look, this is the vision I have of our family. And she
Mhm.
could be like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then she might not even tell you, but in her mind, she like, forget all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
She got her own vision. It ain't got nothing to do with his.
Yeah, and she don't even communicate it, but she just acts on it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? She like, we're like, I thought we was putting the kids to bed at like 8:30. And she like, oh,
You
you
know
know.
what? That just made me have a thought about what you said, and let me know your opinion on this. It's along the same lines, but it's slightly veering off course a little bit. But what's your opinion on when you have the divide between two people that have kids? Because and normally, normally it's the women that do this. The women will put the kids before her man.
Hmm.
All right.
Hmm.
So when you get married, let's bring the religion component into it. Um, God has blessed the union of marriage. He didn't bless the union of you having a child.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
that's a sacred act. Don't get me
Yes, it
wrong.
is.
It's the most
Yeah,
special thing, in the universe. The birth of a child is something cannot
yeah,
be.
it is.
Men, women, y'all got it. You know,
There's
uh,
no doubt.
but
Definitely.
but when it comes to when people get married, you got to go before the justice of the peace, and you got to say your vows before God, and it's like according to religion, most religions or whatever, husband and wife, that bond and that relationship is supposed to come first above all,
Absolutely. I,
including the relationship between a mother and the child or the father and the child.
I
But
totally agree, man. I
but
think that's so.
yeah, but what
Hmm.
ends up happening is that
Hmm.
women, they're loyal to without question to their children, and a lot of times put them before the relationship with their man. Like you heard of that one question when it comes to if a woman is preparing a meal and she has her husband and the kids sitting around the table, who does she serve first?
Yep, yep. And most of the time, I can tell you, like in the generation we come from, the woman serving the kids first,
Yeah.
with the man, right? But I would say that, truth be told, I think that definitely the most important people inside of that union should be the mother and the father. And I
Yeah.
think the real reason for that is because multiple things, but obviously if they do their job right, then they're raising a human being that's going to be a a functioning individual without them, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at some point these people supposed to lead a nest, right? They're
Hmm.
supposed to lead a home and all that stuff, and then the parents will be empty nesters and alone with themselves and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Also, like they are the predecessors, you know what I'm saying? Like the parent child relationship is there for a reason. And I know, like, my children, they kind of got this thought process of when you talk about parent and child, or you talk about superior, and I forget what the whatever person is underneath the superior
Yeah.
is called. They say they look at that like, like master and slave or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so they want to make themselves on an equal level as a parent, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
like a child can never be that. Like, no matter what, like even with our mother and father, whatever they may be, man. Like, we didn't grow up with our parents, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So I would say that even though we didn't, you know, and maybe we were taught this, but we still got a level of respect for them both.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean?
definitely. Hmm.
Yeah, and we're not on their same level, regardless, because they the reason why we have life and all
Hmm.
that stuff. Now we might not agree with all their choices and all that stuff,
Right.
but I would say though that definitely between the man and the woman, they should be the most important thing.
Hmm.
to each other, and they should be making it so like that. I hate to like bring in, compare, because sometimes when you bring in these other analogies, people get to looking at the analogy and mistaking it like as as you trying to compare like a dog to a person or something, right?
Yeah.
But if you get like a vicious dog, like a dog that's going to be a protecting dog, like a pit bull
Pit boy. I've had a few.
ca-
I've had a
yeah,
few.
or
Hmm.
cane corso or something. So now you get a pit bull. Let's say you got a wife and you got like little babies, like 4 year old, 2 year old, or something like that, and you choose to get a pit bull. So the thing you got to do is make the pit bull know where he is in this pecking order, and like he's beneath the children. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So you have to instill that into the dog, or the dog gonna be thinking like
Hmm.
if the kids is underneath him and that he's
Hmm.
more alpha, and instead of protecting them, he's gonna be threatening them and stuff, and all
Hmm.
these things. So I feel like parents got to do that.
Got,
And I
got,
do see like yeah, and
got to
women
set
do
boundaries. Set them boundaries.
exactly. And I
Hmm.
think women a lot of times, like I said, man, they get caught up in this thing of like looking at the kids like they like a stuffed animal or something. Like, oh, it's so cute. Like, let them sleep in the bed and like do this stuff. And I'm like, man, one day that boy gonna be big, right? And you still want that boy to be we get up and you want to be laying off next to you.
Kicking me in
You
my
know what
ribs. I'm trying to lean back. This dude
I
kicking me in my ribs. Go ahead, shorty.
mean?
Get out of here, Slim. You know,
Yeah,
your
you know what
your bed, hey, your bed is that wet.
I mean? Yeah, exactly. And then between the two parents, because I remember when you were saying that, like if the two parents are talking and the kid want to come interject, the
Mhm,
proper things would be like, look, I'm talking to your dad or I'm talking to
mhm,
your mom. You wait
mhm.
until this is done and then I'll deal with you. Like it's these boundaries supposed to be established.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
if we don't do that, then like we doing each other a disservice and we doing our children a disservice. We hurting
mhm,
everybody.
yeah. We can't always adhere to what our children want because we love them so much. It's like my son is grown now, but my daughter is she's 14 and she's having her birthday in a few days. She'll be
Happy
15.
birthday to her, man.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Shout out Dree, shout out
Yeah,
Dree.
yeah.
Um, but I feel like as much as I love my daughter, I give my life for my daughter.
Hmm.
But her and I have clear boundaries that
Hmm.
I'll be trying to talk to her mom at different times because her and her mom, their relationship is like they're friends, like best friends. You want to be best friends with your child. That's understandable. But as they get older, you got to have that clear separation between parent and child. Not
Hmm.
you do what I tell you because I'm your dad. Not like
Right.
it's not like that.
Hmm.
But um, they have to know that you are running things, but their opinion matters. Like I was talking earlier, the days how we were raised. I was raised by your mother tell you to do something. I don't got to give you no reason, just do it.
Right, right, right.
Those days are over. You have to
Yeah,
listen to your
exactly.
children because they have real feelings and they have, you know, my daughter's intelligent, my son was intelligent, so they're not just talking to be talking. They have something to say. So
Hmm.
even though they may not agree with the level of discipline that I'm instilling on them, I want to do this, but you won't let me. They understand, I take the time to explain things. It's like I said, earlier, I don't have a problem following direction, but I'm going to
Hmm.
ask why it is that we're doing what we're doing.
100%.
I carry the same thing into fatherhood. I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to tell you that you're tripping, but I'm going to tell you why. Because I want them to understand. I don't want them to just blindly follow directions. I want them to understand. So you encounter the same issue going forward in the future, you know better to even come to me with this because you remember what we talked about last time. So
100%, man. I
this,
I
I mean,
I love what you said on that, man, because it's like Man, that right there is like the process of critical thinking. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And
Yeah.
problem solving, because it's like you got to first understand the concept and how things are supposed to be going, right?
Hmm.
To be able to make the proper adjustments to do course corrections to get things back in alignment, you
Yeah.
know? But
Yeah.
like if you seeing something going left and something going right, but you don't know, which one's supposed to go where, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's no way you can redirect it, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that, man. And it's
Hmm.
like, the another thing is like, as a parent, sometimes we don't get it right. You know what I mean? And
Of
I think that
course.
as a human being, you know, it's funny because me and you we had these experiences, right, with our children's
Hmm.
mothers, parents. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I can wholeheartedly say that I learned from them, both of
Hmm.
them. Like your story and my story,
Hmm.
I respect those men in that because they humbled themselves
Yes.
and put in a situation and they came back and apologized
Yes.
for they stuff. And that to me was like
That's
great
huge.
leadership in action because they fixed the problem
Right.
that they caused. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. And they later saw the error of their ways and they
Right.
say, you know what, I'm gonna go, and then they confronted it. Like, it takes a bold man to be like, I'm wrong, and then to come
Hmm.
to you face to face and say, let
Hmm.
me talk to you, and if you allow me to do this,
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
this thing or
Yeah.
whatever. And that's a big man. You know what I mean? And I
It
feel like,
is.
the thing that a lot of people miss about like men is that, for the most part, like everything about a man is thankless. You know what I mean? It's like, how when you hear these stories, like if it's a major emergency, they like women and children first leave. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah. So the men in the back, like the whole building on fire. So the men behind us, they all getting burned up. They dying. You know what I'm saying? We just hoping the women hurry up, y'all get out,
Right.
y'all get out here so
Man, yep. They be
so
all
we
right.
could get out. So we could get out here too.
They, hey,
You know what I mean?
the men know what they signed up for when they was born.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I say it's a thankless job, being a man sometimes. And a lot of times a man is going through things and suffering in silence and nobody cares.
Hmm.
Nobody, and in fact, people will dump more burdens on the man. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It'll
Yeah.
be like, look, I'm going through this already. And they like, so what? You going through that because that's your choice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that
Right.
don't mean that you wasn't supposed to still be doing this other
Right.
thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
man. Yeah, man.
so it's like a man, your knees buckling, it hits the ground. You still gotta find a way to stand back up, even with all this weight on your back and all this
Yes.
stuff. It's like difficult, man.
It's just like if you, as a man, you're taught that you're supposed to be the provider, the protector, the rock, to keep everybody safe. I mean, if you're not bringing what you're supposed to be bringing to the table, God forbid you lose your job or you're going through something, you looked at as less than,
Hmm.
because you going through something. What isn't this, is it June or is it May? I believe it's June that is men's mental
Right,
health
right, right.
awareness
That's
month.
right. Yeah.
This is men's mental health awareness month. And we
Yeah.
got a lot of men out there that are suffering internally and they don't want to, express themselves about how they feel about what they're going through because most of us were raised to be tough and just deal with it. You don't dump your problems. You got to be the man. You got to be able to take care of this,
Right.
take care of that. So and they're afraid that if they express how they feel, that they're going through something, they're going to be looked at as less than. They're going to be looked at as weak.
Hmm.
Unable to lead.
Hmm.
What's wrong with him? Man,
Hmm.
it's crazy out here nowadays. Everybody got something going on.
Hmm.
They just don't.
Hmm.
They may not verbalize it or express it, but
Hmm.
some of the strongest men that they
Hmm.
got stuff going on with them. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
so hopefully,
Man.
that hopefully men understand that you got people around you that support you and love you. So if you can't tell these people what's going on with you. Nobody can help you if you don't express that. You know.
Man, 100%, man. You know, it's funny, man. It's like I remember after for the first time we reconnected after several years, you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
And we when we first got to, talking and catching up, and I said, what's up? Just like with your life and kids and stuff. And what stood out to me was the most remarkable was how honest you was
Yeah.
about
Mhm.
everything. Because you know how like sometimes, and I've heard this before, like a group of men get together and everybody be like, how you doing? Everything good, man.
Mhm.
Whatever, whatever.
Mhm.
What's up with the kids? They good, they cool, this and that. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
man, they honestly being like, you know what, man, I ain't really got the relationship with my daughter that I thought I was gonna have, or
Mhm.
we
Mhm.
going through this type of thing, and this is what I think about it. And then you're like, you know what, man, I'm going through that same type of thing, man.
Yep.
And this is what, and we share and compare notes, and
Mhm.
then this helps like fortify each other, like they say, iron sharpen iron.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just through the humanity, brother, just through like the connection of it, and then like when we feel there's some room that we can make amends and stuff. Like I said, that's the story of what you shared with me, and how that other man was able to try to make amends like that. Like
Mhm.
that stands out to me because it makes me know too, like I ain't perfect, man. So I could make a bad decision or and stand behind it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because most
Yep.
men gonna do that. Like if you
Mhm.
my daughter dating a dude I don't like, I'ma stand behind that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
she could prove me wrong. Like
Mhm.
the dude could be a good dude,
Yeah.
and
You
like
never know. Mhm.
he could, but I'm willing to be proven wrong, and
Mhm.
then to apologize for it if I am. You know what I mean?
That's that's big. What you just said, that last thing, as parents, you have to, it doesn't matter being a man or a woman, it doesn't matter, mother or the father. You have to be willing to apologize to your kids. That's part of raising them, because kids hold us on a pedestal, and they look at us as parents, especially when they're younger, and as they grow older, they look at us like we can do no wrong.
Hmm.
Mom is way over here. Dad is just, they're just all everything. When you mess up, when you f up, own it, own it, because you are showing your child that when they mess up, they will be able to do the same. They're watching you. What
Hmm.
did dad do? What did mom do when they messed up?
Hmm.
Dad couldn't even say sorry. Mom couldn't even say sorry, even when they know that they were wrong. So now
Hmm.
your child will be like, well, I don't got to say sorry. I don't got to apologize for nothing, even if I'm wrong, because your children emulate you. So when you,
100%.
you show that humility, and I've told my daughter I'm sorry because I was wrong about something. You know what? I'm sorry. I tell my son now I'm sorry for this. I don't have a problem telling you that I'm sorry, because I'm going to make mistakes. We all will, but it's about how you respond to your mistakes. Um, and with relationships, I know we're getting ready to close in a minute, but
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
believe if you're estranged from your son, estranged from your brother, from your mother, from your daughter, from whoever, if it's somebody that you truly care about, that
Hmm.
relationship is always worth restoring. It is
Hmm.
always worth putting
Hmm.
forth the effort to rebuild it, because you never know what impact. Life is short. Like I
Hmm.
like I told you before, I
Hmm.
can live with trying and failing. So
Hmm.
I'm reaching out to you and you rebuff my efforts because you ain't rocking with me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Try. I can live with that. I tried.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
weren't interested in rekindling anything and fixing anything. But what I cannot live with is regrets. Like
I hear you.
that person, God forbid, something happened to me or something happened to them.
Hmm.
They got to live with the fact that you're gone. You got to
Hmm.
live with the
Hmm.
fact that that person you love is gone.
Hmm.
Can't
Hmm.
live with that. So,
I'm
um,
with you, man. That's well said, man. That's a good note to carry us on out with, because I was wanting you to have the last word on it, man. But I guess we can expand on one little thing, which is that what you said, man, in terms of every human being is gonna make errors. We're gonna
Yeah.
create like waves in each other's
Mhm.
lives. Even between two men. That is close.
Yeah.
We're gonna do things that each other don't like and all this stuff, but we uh always, if the heart is aligned right, love is there, the intention is to to heal these things. You know what I mean? And I make mistakes, man, sometimes inadvertently, brother. Like,
Mhm.
there was
Mhm.
a time I was supposed to go to my son's school. I said shared some time back, and I forgot because I got busy at work,
Mhm.
and I looked up and I was like, damn, I missed it, the time.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I hated that because before that happened, my son trusted me so blindly. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And
Mhm.
even that day, when I told him I was gonna come to the school, he had asked me, man, can you go get me some McDonald's? And I was like, yeah. And I forgot, man. And that
Yeah.
when I went there to pick him up from school, he's smiling when he sees me, put his hands in my hand, we walk and all. He didn't mention nothing about me not being there.
Yeah.
But when we get home, I look at his lunchbox, he ain't eat none of his food because he thought I
Mm.
was gonna come, and that hurt my heart, man. Because I was like,
Yeah.
damn, I
Yeah.
I failed you, and
You like Pop's gonna come through with that Mickey D's.
so that made me so mad at myself. So I pulled him up, and I was like, you know what, man, I messed up. This what I'm gonna do though. From here on out, I'm putting it on my calendar. This and that.
Right.
That's what this
Yeah,
how this
remind you
what I'm
on
gonna
your
do.
phone.
Yeah, but this how I'm gonna make sure that
Yeah.
never happens again. But guess what? Uh, After that day, when I would tell him stuff, he'd be like, "Are you sure?" You know. So that would be like a shot
Yeah.
on my chin every time that would happen, because I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Damn, man, I put that little seed of doubt in your head," you know.
Mhm.
But we do this sometimes. So, but I love what you said
Yeah.
about these relationships being worth it to try to recover, if it's possible. And if you try and it doesn't work, you still have done your part, you
Right.
know.
Right. Because you think about what you have to gain.
Hmm.
What do you have to lose by trying to fix a relationship with somebody that truly means something to you, that cares about you? You have
Hmm.
nothing at all to lose, because if that person is not currently in your life in the capacity you want them to be, you're
Hmm.
missing them. You're missing out on what they could be doing to enhance your life. So if
100%.
you rekindle that relationship, that goes years down the road of all the wonderful things that comes with having that person back in your life again, that you would not have been able to receive had you not
Exactly.
energy getting back to where you should be.
Exactly, man.
You know?
Well, is there any final thoughts you'd like to close us out with?
We could go on, man. We could go on about another hour about this
Yeah.
other stuff, man. But
Yeah.
just, you know, parents, our children, they're gifts from the Most High, gifts from the Creator. They are, but do your best to be the best person that you could be, so they can be the best, that they can be in their own lives, because your children are watching you. Your children are paying attention. I don't care how young they are. They are paying attention. They're like sponges. They absorb negative energy, positive energy. So set the example for them. Be what it is that you want them to be when they grow up. You know. Um, so just be conscious of who's watching at all times. Your kids.
That's what's up, man.
Mhm.
All right, brother. I
All right.
appreciate you, man, for gracing us in
I
the
appreciate you
Rose
having
Garden.
me.
Yeah,
Appreciate you
man.
having me. Thank you, Sarita.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah, man. Big up to Sarita, man, and Dree too, man. Her
Yeah.
birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Now,
Gotta
she called,
celebrate it big.
she called me. She called me just a few minutes ago. She was getting off the bus. So I'm gonna call her back. Make sure she got in the house. All right.
I will go ahead and do the thing, brother. Until